I've noticed that my confidence in this has grown a lot. My confidence in my voice and my message and the things that I talk about. When I originally started showing up online, I just told myself, you're going to just post. You're going to turn that camera on and just start talking, say the things that are interesting to you. And the more that I was consistent in it, the more my message just became more clear, the more confident I started feeling and just speaking in general. And then also when you're getting feedback from people as well, it just really built up that confidence. And I started to appreciate my own message because the things that I talk about are not only reminders for viewers, but it's like reminders for myself as well.
Hello and welcome back after your break. We hope that it's been a health. Oh my god, I'm gonna do this again. Okay, 3, 2. I was gonna go in the blue buzz. Wait, I feel a sneeze coming. Oh my god.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm thinking in like two different other foreign languages right now. My brain is like. Welcome to the Quarter Life Compass, the podcast for anyone navigating life, work, relationships, and purpose in their 20s. This is your host, Yuna, and our first guest, Markell.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the rest of the audience?
Yeah, so I'm Markell, but you can call me Kel. I made an Instagram and a TikTok page called Markell's Diary, where I basically just talk about my life experiences, things of quantum physics, how you can use your mind to change your life. So just a lot of mindset work. It's my favorite thing to talk about at the moment, so it's really what I do.
Lovely. And would you like to go into your weekly obsession as your first icebreaker?
Yeah, so I have a pretty obsessive personality, so my weekly obsession is always going to change, but right now it's sperm whales. I've been doing a lot of deep dives and research and watching documentaries on sperm whales. They're so interesting and they're so cute. So if you ever want to go whale watching, we should go together.
We should. We'll make a podcast episode on our experiences.
I would love that.
Okay. So speaking of the podcast, we'll go into why we launched this podcast, because originally Markell and I were working as co-hosts rather than a host and a new guest. And so before we go into that, who are we? How do we meet each other in order to create this podcast?
So I met you because you used to comment on my posts and you would talk about things of psychology and how it would like relate to what I was talking about. Normally my posts, I would talk about things from a quantum physics lens, but you would bring psychology into it. And so you messaged me about wanting to create a podcast that basically combines the two and just talks about your journey going into your 20s and how you can use your mindset to navigate through that. And I just fell in love with getting to know you, and I thought that we shared such similar values, so I was just so intrigued and interested in doing this.
Aww.
I'm happy to be here.
You flatter me.
You flatter me.
Yeah, so the reason why we launched this podcast in general is because we felt that there aren't a lot of communities that are specific to people in their 20s. And we all know that as fun as your 20s are, it gets confusing, it gets stressful, and it gets a little bit helpless at times, but we hope that this gives you the solace and the comfort that you need to keep going in your 20s and just embrace every season with your life with open arms as well. So, next question. How did you end up pursuing content creation on your TikTok and your Instagram, and how did you end up being so consistent with posting?
So I started content creation because I would write poetry and just write things. And so I actually made a book originally and I wanted to promote the book. But I realized that the best way to promote anything would be to have an audience. And so I'm pretty shy in person, and creating content was a way for me to build an audience, but also to step outside of my comfort zone. And I just told myself, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to put myself online, I can't just start it and give up. I'm going to have to keep on going. And then there's just been so much support from everyone. And just knowing that things I talk about are valuable to people. So that's just been really helpful in being consistent.
That's amazing to talk about, because as much as it helps other people, it also helps you and heals parts of yourself that you never expected you'd be able to heal on your own. And
absolutely,
we did briefly talk about this over a video call while we were trying to plan the podcast. We did talk about how the more often you post and the more consistent you are, the more likely you are to be able to reflect on your journey. But essentially, how do you know that you've been growing in a certain specific way, in a certain direction?
I think I've noticed that my confidence in this has grown a lot. My confidence in my voice and my message and the things that I talk about. When I originally started showing up online, I just told myself, you're going to just post. You're going to turn that camera on and just start talking, say the things that are interesting to you. And at first, I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed to be posting because I just felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. But the more that I was consistent in it, the more my message just became more clear, the more confident I started feeling and just speaking in general. And then also when you're getting feedback from people as well, it just really built up that confidence. And I started to appreciate my own message because the things that I talk about are not only reminders for viewers, but it's like reminders for myself as well.
That's amazing, because you not only get the feedback, but then the feedback prompts you to look inward in order for you to see what's changed since the past. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's like I used to have a YouTube account called Yuna, at Yuna Small Bean, because my nickname is Small Bean because I'm like short and like, I look like a plant. So
how tall are you?
Are we talking metric or imperial right now?
Metric.
Metric, I'm 157.5 on a good day.
I should have never said metric. The other one.
5'2", 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Short.
Sure. Yeah. Pretty short.
It's small bean.
So yeah, like I think me having that huge hiatus for like 2-3 years of my life has really given me enough experiences to talk to these very heavy and like interesting topics, because I started realizing that I'm like running out of things to say, because I need to live through a specific season of my life in order for me to reflect back on it and then tell people how it made me feel and tell myself how it made me feel. But that just wasn't happening, and because I needed time to grow, I just took a step back, put all my videos on private, and all my followers are still there, which is still insane because I thought I would lose a lot of them. But that's kind of like why I thought a podcast would be very beneficial in that sense. So
yeah, this is gonna be great to like watch yourself evolve. The more consistent that you are with this,
yeah,
it's gonna be
sure.
good.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing. Okay, so we have a few questions from both of our followers. We basically filtered down what we felt that we would be able to answer in this specific episode. So if your question hasn't been answered yet, don't worry. We'll be trying to get around to all of them. And any questions at all are welcome as well. So the first question that we have is a little bit heavy, but it's a very necessary question to ask in our 20s. So the first question is, how do I believe everything is fine in a season of loss and grief?
That is heavy.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think, and I'm just gonna be so real, I really think that it just comes with time. Because with grief, it's gonna be different for everyone. Everyone processes things differently. But grief as a whole is just something that you have to take your time with. I think when you can understand that just because you're grieving right now, and you might be grieving forever, it won't always be the same intensity as it might be right now. And I think when you can realize that it might just be a period of time that it feels really heavy, can get you through it. But also, I think just processing your feelings and allowing yourself to just go through the cycle of grief, because it is heavy and it's not something that I can just say, it's going to be okay. You're going to get over it, because it's grief. This is something that a lot of people deal with, and you just have to ride that wave. And ultimately, I think that the longer that you can ride the wave and those ups and downs, you're going to end up believing that everything is going to be okay. You won't see that unless you're riding that wave to get to that point to see it. And some days are going to be easy. Some days are going to be really, really hard. But I think you just ultimately have to be really patient with yourself and understand that you're going through grief. You're experiencing heaviness, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be this heavy forever. But if you are feeling the heaviness of it in whatever moment, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, and just keep in mind that this is something that you're going through, and just be really, really patient with yourself throughout it, because it is heavy. And as much as you just do not want to feel that way, if it's something that you're going through, you have to be patient with yourself throughout it. You have to take care of yourself throughout it, whether this means surrounding yourself with people that you can talk to, people that really care about you and love you and remind you that you're so loved, whether this means going on a really long walk or laying in bed all day, doing whatever makes you feel good, or even just getting through the day, taking it day by day, step by step, hour by hour, minute by minute even. You do whatever you can to process it in the way that you process it. But obviously, you want to take care of yourself throughout that process, because I think that's ultimately the way that you're going to end up finding out that you can get through it. That's when you start seeing even a smidge of light at the end of the tunnel, when you're able to just go through it and take care of yourself and just take it moment by moment.
Yeah, day by day. It's not going to be easy, as you said, and I think because there's such a lack of, I guess, discourse surrounding grief, it's really easy to feel like you're alone. But going through grief and loss is such a human experience that nobody's safe from it. At some point, we always have a probability of reaching a point of grief, even if it's like, you've broken up with your friends, you've broken up with your partner, or you're moving cities, or it doesn't even have to be about a sudden death, but grief to me is the heavy feelings that come with me not being the person I thought I would be. And so conceptually, if I talk about it, like, I had a certain expectation of what my future self would look like, and after grief, I'm falling short of that image. It feels like I'm disappointing myself when I'm actually not, because it's actually a blessing that we can go through periods of grief. It's just a lesson that we have to go through. It's more of an experience thing, and that doesn't mean that you have to put yourself in a bad situation to feel those feelings, but ensure that you're taking care of yourself. Please don't emotionally drink, don't emotionally vape or smoke, and don't emotionally try to self-sabotage anything that's going good in your life, because it's hard to see those positive things in your life that still remain, but you have to keep them in your life. You can't just let it go. So that's my 2 cents on how you can deal with it.
I think the only way out of it is just to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that you can do to like stop it or push it down, but the heaviness is something that has to move through you in order to be released, in order for you to move on ultimately. It's a really unfortunate experience, but it is just an experience that you go through, and eventually you get through.
And it might seem like it's very far away, but it could happen a lot earlier than it would. But time isn't something that you should be worried about. What you should be worried about is if you're not processing and if you're not letting those emotions flow through you, because that will eventually solidify as resentment against yourself and resentment against certain people. And in order for that to break through and break free from you, whenever you feel like crying, just cry. Whenever you feel like having a rage fit in your room, as long as you're not getting hurt, then go for it. If you need to go to therapy, go for it. Like, you have to be very, very attentive to what your body needs and what your soul needs in order for you to get through this as swiftly as possible. But again, it's not about time, but it's about being as holistic as you can be, so that the trauma and the grief doesn't slip through its cracks. So, yeah.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
For sure. Okay, we have a second question before our little 5-minute break. How do you experience the best outcome when you don't know what it looks like or aren't open to it?
So for this, I think about it this way. If you were to get into a taxi and tell the driver, I don't want to go to the mall, I don't want to go to the airport, I don't want to go to work, school, X, Y, Z. If you're saying all these things that you don't want, you're not going to be able to get to where you actually want to go. So I think the most important thing is to understand what it is that you do want. It's so easy for people in general to just immediately focus on what they don't want. I don't want this to happen. And that's what your mind is so focused on. It can be a bit more difficult to actually understand what it is that you do want. But if you can get clear on what it is that you want, then you'll have more of a direct access to getting towards that. So I would say, to answer this question, get clear on what it is that you want. As clear as you possibly can. Have an idea of what that is, so that way you're not focusing on what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing advice, because focusing on what you do want already puts you in an abundance mindset rather than the scarcity mindset where it's like, I don't want this, I don't want that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go to a buffet, you're like, oh, I don't want this food, I don't want that food, I don't want any of these foods. Instead of just saying, I just want the spaghetti, I just want the steak. And it would be a lot easier to find whatever it is that you do want if you have that standard in your head. You have to get so clear with what you manifest and what you bring into your life, because God, the universe, Allah, whoever you believe in, they will give you exactly what you wanted and exactly what you said you wanted. But if you're not specific enough, you will genuinely end up in a situation where you'll have to pay your own debts because you weren't specific on what you wanted, essentially. So that was kind of like more on the spiritual route and the psychological route. But yeah, like, it's when you don't know what your lucky days will look like in the future, that is even more evidence to prove that you may need more time to hone in on what you do want. And the question says, aren't open to it. So that specific phrase also has to be changed in a way that is positive and in a way that it's from an abundance mindset, essentially. So
yeah, and I think especially when you're looking to get the best outcome of something, you probably would want to understand, or at least have an idea of what that best outcome is. Because if you're not focused on what it is that you do want, then you're going to be focused on either what you don't want or whatever your mind decides to focus on. So if you want to get the best outcome, what is the best outcome for you? What is that? Like, what do you want?
Like, literally, what I like to do is, like, I do a funnel method where it's like, okay, I don't want this, and I don't want this, I don't want that, and then I come down to what I specifically don't want, and then I do a separate funnel where it's like, oh, I want, for example, I want to have good grades. Why do I want to have good grades? So then I can have a good job. Why do I want to have a good job? Because I want to support myself and my family and thanking them and paying them back. Why do I want to have, like, no debt? Like, and then just, like, funneling everything down to the absolute core of why you're feeling the way you feel can be a really good start in regards to what you don't want and what you do want. But the one that you do want should be at the focus of what you're doing for that exercise.
Absolutely. And to add to that, like, you can literally just take what you don't want and flip it to the complete opposite and build off of that.
Yeah.
And get even more specific.
And that's the more simplistic way of doing it. I think as a beginner, that would be a lot more effective in trying to narrow down what you do want.
Yeah, just get clear on what you want.
Yeah. Okay, so right now we're gonna have a 5-minute break to grab water, get some snacks, and you'll have some lo-fi music playing in the background. So enjoy the elevator music, and we'll see you soon in 5. welcome back from your little 5-minute break with the elevator music. I hope you liked it. We're gonna answer 3 more questions before we go on to the next section of our podcast. So we had another question about a hard period and a hard season of life. And the question is, describe your life in a hard period of time and what you did to get through it.
Okay, so I had a period of time, early 20s. I'm 25 now. So the beginning of like my 20s was really, really, really difficult. Basically living in survival mode, to like simplify this. And I think when you're living in survival mode, at least for me, I got to a point where I just felt really like lonely and isolated. I started separating myself from everyone around me because I just felt like nobody understood what I was going through. And I had a really like hard time being emotionally vulnerable with the people that were in my life. So I really found myself extremely isolated. And as hard as it was to be isolated in that time, I think one thing that came out of it was a better understanding of myself and my own mental headspace. And I think ultimately I ended up realizing that in a way, my own mental headspace kind of shaped where my life had gone and how my life kind of moved into survival mode, basically, and just my own thought patterns, the way that I viewed myself and the people in my life and just life circumstances overall. And it was obviously really difficult because when you're living in survival mode, like a lot of the time you just are really trying to get through the hours of the days, getting through day by day. It got to a point where the only thing that was getting me through the day, because I was kind of like stripped away from everything, basically. Everything was like sunsets. Like I would kind of, my mental headspace was in such a bad place that the one thing that was getting me through the day was like watch a sunset. And I think when you're kind of stripped away from everything and now you're kind of having to figure out something to keep you going, for me at least, looking at a sunset kind of was the one thing that would start to give me some kind of like hope or happiness or just something to get me through the day in a way. And I say this to say that getting through any difficult period of time is obviously going to be challenging, but the one thing that you can do to get through it is by focusing on something that you can be grateful for in the present moment, because there's always something that you can be grateful for, and it's literally you're one perspective away from seeing that. And so for me, it was sunsets, and after a while, I would just start noticing more and more and more things to be grateful for. Now I'm kind of at a point where I'm grateful to even be like alive and breathing. You know, so many people wish that they had like a loved one that could take another breath. And so it's like, even if I'm going through a really difficult period of time, I can at least be grateful that I'm still here. Even if it's really difficult, just because I know in the back of my mind that somebody wishes that they had the opportunity that I have right now. But yeah, boiling it all down, I just think the best way to get through a difficult period of time is by focusing on what you can be grateful for in the present moment. Because if you can find something to be grateful for, even if it's the simplest thing, even if you're like scraping crumbs to be grateful for something, that puts you in a mindset where now all of a sudden you're starting to see more things to be grateful for. And then this just ultimately expands, but it all boils back down to your perspective and how you're viewing a difficult circumstance. I think one thing that also really helps is realizing that just because you're going through a difficult day or a difficult period of time, that can exist simultaneously as good things happening in your life. You know, even if you're, like I said, scraping for crumbs, you can be going through a difficult time, but you had something to eat today. You had a roof over your head. You had water. You're still breathing. So simultaneously, there are good things happening, and if in the midst of the negative and the difficult. And so I think if you can just, as difficult as it might seem, shift your perspective even slightly, even if it's 1% every single day, ultimately that's doing so much more than just drowning in the difficult circumstance.
I think I really respect the fact that your gratitude helped you get through the worst of your life so far. And I think for me as well, like, I do a lot of like affirmations to myself and like gratitude journals and stuff like that. And so if I have like an empty note, I'm gonna choose this one. It's very cute.
It is cute.
My friends always say that I look like this character, but
oh my, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
She's a cutie.
So if I have like a blank page, I would do all my affirmations to fill up that page. Even if I have like a section of like other notes that I took, I just do it until I finish the page. And that alone has gotten me through so much, like journaling, therapy, and of course therapy is expensive, but there are still other ways that you can. There's so many different examples of like CBT and like DBT online, that it's very easy for you to print out worksheets for you to do. For me personally, I am still currently in that difficult phase of my life, but I'm at the cusp of it. I'm at the end of it. And the more I realize that I have so much to be grateful for, the more I can observe that more blessings start to flow in. Not because I was perceiving more things to be grateful for, but because, like, if I say thank you to people, like, they would want to give more. If I say, if I show my gratitude to people who are, like, closer in my life, they end up treating me with more love, with more grace, and things like that. It's just, like, you're essentially summoning, like, so much positive energy around you and for those that you can even help through your experiences. So, yeah, I totally agree with what you said about how, like, even if it feels like it's the end of the world and, like, you're just in survival mode, like, the one thing that can get you out of it is your mindset if you don't have anything else, right? So
yeah. And also I do want to add to that really quickly that I would never say any of this as like this is the fix for it, this is the quick fix for it, because 9 times out of 10 it's not going to be a quick fix. 9 times out of 10 you're going to actively have to keep showing up and finding things to be grateful for. But ultimately this is what builds that muscle. This is what builds that part of yourself that gets through it. Even if it's not overnight, this is something that you're like consciously putting effort towards. So this can be a new state of being for you and a new way of perceiving your life as consistently as you keep showing up and finding things to be grateful for.
That's beautiful, yeah. Well, I think we've answered the question enough, which is great. The next question is, what pursuits do you take to find balance in your life?
For me, I personally love writing. This is going to be different for everyone, by the way, but for me, I love writing. I will just start writing about whatever, and whatever comes out, or taking really, really, really long walks and like recording a voice memo and just letting whatever comes out come out. It's a really good way for me to like hear myself and what I'm going through and just kind of like organize the chaos in my mind. Those are ways that I kind of like ground myself. Also, meditating is another thing that I love to do. I am being kind of a hypocrite though, I will say. Yeah. Because I don't always meditate. I know it's really beneficial for you because when I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, I should be doing this every single day. I know that's something that's very good for you. Those are just some things that I do.
I think for me, I'm a dancer and a singer, so I either make covers for singing or improvise dance through my experience of this one scenario that I'm trying to express. And then in terms of writing, I used to write quite a lot when I was younger, like when I was like 18. That was like my first like crisis episode of like, oh my god, life is so hard. And it was really difficult because it was just like my first year in university. During that phase of my life and during that phase when I was comparing myself to my friends, like I was working tirelessly on these YouTube videos and these different scripts I wanted to say to my audience or even like my past self. And just like your voice memos, it's so refreshing to see how you've grown up to that point, but how much you've grown after that point as well. And so having a record of that is always very, very, very useful. And it gives you even more motivation to keep that positive energy in your life. And honestly, it's kind of like a muscle. Like, gratitude is a muscle. The more you work it out, the better you'll be able to just identify everything that you should be grateful for. Because honestly, if we talk about gratitude, you can go on forever and ever and ever. Because we have a roof over our head, we have food, we have snacks, we have water, in the midst of so many different political events going on, and of course, we're very privileged to be at a state where we're not in survival mode 24/7, and hopefully we can use our privilege to help more people who are struggling in life. And although you might not be able to fully understand what's going on in their headspace, at least helping out, and at least helping out from a place of abundance will not only make you feel good, but make you feel like you're healing through that. You've healed enough to be able to give that love to other people as well.
Absolutely, I agree.
So we have a second question. Okay, what inspired you to pursue social media as an outlet to share your experiences?
I'm naturally in person, I'm pretty shy. I don't really go out of my way to talk to people or anything. And so when I did start social media, I consciously knew, okay, if I'm going to be doing this is going to be a way for me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and find my voice, whatever that sounds like and looks like. And so the more consistent that I was and the more feedback that I was getting, I started feeling really valuable about the way that I was showing up. And I felt like whatever I was producing was valuable to people that really needed it. And also, whenever I was in a heavier period of my life or needed some kind of hope, I would kind of cling onto videos or anything that would give me a slight amount of hope. And so just being able to create content in that area of life to help somebody else potentially that needs that sliver of hope, needs that one thing to just get them through the next 10 minutes of their day or whatever it looks like. That's really what kept me going in this. And just connecting with people has been great.
Yeah. I think I decided I don't think YouTube really counts as social media because you don't really have that much, I guess, interaction with the people in your comments. But I think I chose to start a YouTube channel because I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. And I wanted more people to realize the things that are obvious to me but weren't obvious to me in the past. And my most popular video was at 2.5k views with the topic on relationships. And I wrote that specific script even though I was in kind of an unhealthy one-sided relationship. And so looking back, and I'm like, wait, this piece is making me feel some type of way, because why am I saying stuff that I'm not even adopting myself? And so I had to look inward. I was like, oh, do I break up with them? Do I but yeah, I think now I feel like I should go back to my YouTube channel because I haven't in a while, because I'm just I look so different and I have such different ideas and opinions, and it's a little bit cringe, but sometimes you have to let the cringe happen, because if you're not cringe and you're just nonchalant in your life, then you don't really get much out of it, right?
The cringe is to be free. Just let it loose. You're doing this for yourself at the end of the day.
Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of how I managed to start a YouTube channel on my own.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, and now we're going on to the second and last part of this podcast. So Markell basically had a little collation of questions that I was gonna ask, because I had my questions I wanted to ask Markell, but then since we switch to co-host, to host and guest. We're gonna have me answer these questions, and Markell can also answer or ask more questions as well. So, first question Markell had is, what got me interested in psychology in the first place? So, I think I'm generally like a very observant person, because I love people watching, and that sounds so creepy, but like I love seeing different social dynamics, like, whether or not they're in a relationship, whether or not the relationship is actually a good one, whether or not that relationship is, I don't know, like is meant to last. And like I in general, I just love learning about relationship psychology, not just romantic, but like platonic, familial, what have you. And I think observing the human experience in such an empirical and academic way is just so incredibly satisfying to me, because a lot of people don't really understand, or they fail to kind of validate psychology as this discipline that is worthy of your time. But I'm gonna go into this a little bit later in the questions, but like, for example, using statistics or like using very difficult math in order for you to see whether or not two couples are going to break up in 15 years, just based off of like a 30-second conversation. Like that's the kind of thing that I love and adore. But yeah, I think psychology is just so applicable, and especially in this whole mental health crisis. Like, I just hope that whatever I do and whatever I set out to do in my adult life, that I'll be able to help them through my experiences as well.
Oh, I think you're doing great so far. That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's so interesting that it's been, how many years has it been? It's been like 7 years since I first started learning psychology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like we used to have to memorize the study, memorize the theory, and then also create an argument saying that like it gives sufficient evidence to suggest that these two variables are related. Okay, so that's the answer that I have for question A. So question B, do you have a question?
So, yeah, I did have a question for you. I remember you did mention the schema theory. So my question is, what is the most interesting psychological concept that you've come across?
Okay, so this one is in relationship psychology. It's called the emotional bank account, or the golden ratio, but they go hand in hand. So this doctor named John Gottman and Julie Gottman, they're a married couple, and their mission statement is to help couples rekindle the relationship and repair the relationship to the greatest extent. And the emotional bank account is essentially a concept where the emotions of your partner and yourself are stored. And so if you say that you start at level 100, right? And 200 is like the capacity. And so whenever you have a nice dinner, a nice date, or a nice moment that you both want to remember for the rest of time, you will add like, say, like $50 more into that bank account. But if you have a really ugly argument and an abusive moment, then you're going to take out 100 out of that bank account. So disregarding the value of what these actions are, you need to have enough money in that bank account so that in case a fight happens, you won't be at a 0 or a negative. And then that flows pretty swiftly into the idea that there is a golden ratio for any couple to be healthy. So it's called the 5-to-1 ratio, where with one negative experience that you have, you need to outdo it by having 5 positive experiences. The way that they found out these theories is through having these couples sit down and have like a conversation about a happy topic and a sad topic, or an angering topic that they had that was on the shelf. And they noticed that for the healthy couples, they had less of a BPM, they had less of a negative face, negative microexpression, and they were more likely to be addressing it in a very mature way. Whereas for the relationship disasters, So they say relationship disasters and relationship masters to figure out the two. So for the disasters, they found that their ratio was only 0.8 positive to 0.8 negative to 1 positive moment, which is very, very concerning. So that alone is something that has been on my mind quite a lot lately. Like I just got out of a relationship, but at the same time I'm like reflecting on how I could have been a better partner and how I could have been a better person to initiate these hard conversations without feeling like we have to take out a really high fee from the emotional bank account. So yeah.
I see. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I do have another question for you.
Okay.
I have quite a few questions for you, so just get prepared. The next one is, what's a belief about yourself that's completely changed your life once you adopted it?
I think a belief about myself is like, I have two things. One is like, I'm the most confident version of myself that I will ever be, because I'm the youngest I'll ever be, and I'm also the oldest I'll ever be.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I'll be as old as I am wisdom-wise, but free as I am age-wise. And so I do a lot of affirmations, like I mentioned before. And my favorite affirmation is, I'm a magnet for blank. So I'm a magnet towards good luck, love, patience, and joy. And the more that I do these affirmations, the more that my brain actually starts to believe it. And it starts to, like, it's a positive bias, because you get to pick out different things in your life that are making your life better. And then you feel more grateful, and then more gratitude follows with these like life instances. And so I think that's mainly it. Like if I just affirm myself one or two different things every single day, I will act in the same fashion of like what the most confident self of me would look like. So yeah.
I love that. I really love that. I feel like I don't know, I feel like that really, ultimately that mindset in its own gives you a confidence, if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you really are the oldest that you'll ever be, the most confident that you'll ever be, the youngest that you'll ever be, all right now. And so you kind of have like a decision and opportunity to just act from that version of yourself. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have another question for you.
Alrighty.
So, what psychological concept do you wish that more people understood?
Ooh, this goes really nicely with the previous question. It's a theory called neuroplasticity. Essentially, you can structurally change your neural pathways in accordance to what behaviors you do and what thoughts you have, right? And this is why affirmations are so important, because even as an adult, you can change those neural connections in order to benefit you in the long run. So for example, most people think that life is hopeless because after a certain period of time, they think that the brain is just fixed, right? That is the biggest lie that we tell ourselves. So for example, when it comes down to confidence, and when I tell myself that I'm a magnet of confidence, so let me actually draw this little artsy moment. So I'm not sure if some people have seen what a neuron looks like. This is a very bad example of what it looks like. But this is basically what it looks like.
Okay.
So you have the cell right here. This is the axon terminal. This whole thing is the axon, but then this is the terminal, right? And these are something called dendrites. They're kind of like tree-like structures that reach out to the next axon terminal. So like this.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one way that the neural firing can like speed up is through like a fat called myelin, and this myelin coats the axon body. And you know how in like normal like cables you have like the cover on it, right? Yeah, it's basically that. It's like it helps as like for conduction, which is like 100 times faster than a non-myelated cell.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go here, if we draw another one real quick, this is very, very not it. I'm not an artist, but here, say that this is myelated, say that this is also myelated, but if you have a thought of like, oh, I'm worthy, then what happens is that it starts to reach out closer to the axon terminal, which makes it even faster for these neural pathways to interact with each other, essentially. Because if your axon terminal is here and the dendrite is like literally clamping towards the terminal, then of course it's going to be really fast. And then on top of that, you also have the fat layer that's covering the axon body, which speeds it up by 100%. So, yeah. So that's only one part of neuroplasticity, and it's structural neuroplasticity because the structure of your brain changes. There's also different types of neuroplasticity, including functional neuroplasticity. So in this case study, they found that this woman, I'm not sure if it was a woman or a man, but they found that this woman had the whole right hemisphere removed from her brain. And everyone was like, oh, she's just going to be a vegetable, like she's not going to be able to do anything. But no, her brain literally adjusted itself to be functional again without a whole hemisphere, just through neuroplasticity, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And so for developmental neuroplasticity, it's usually it's about kids and them developing through the years, and it's pretty similar to structural neuroplasticity, but it's just for kids developing their brains as they grow up. But the most interesting part, I think, is structural neuroplasticity and functional neuroplasticity, which are both very... It literally feels like a miracle. So that also gives you less of an excuse to do your affirmations.
Yeah. I love that. Because you really can change everything by just choosing new and consistently choosing new over and over and over and over again. Really never too late to start anything or to change your mindset.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the next question that I have for you is, have you ever had a period where you consciously changed your self-concept? And if so, what happened?
Ooh, okay. I think rather than this period of time when I consciously changed everything, I think for me, I need a lot of like prep work in order for me to like, you know, I would say my life is kind of like exponential with like self-help and self-growth and stuff like that. So I basically already assumed that I am the person that I want to become. And that makes me already a very confident person. Other people think that I'm confident, even though I'm faking it. And the more I repeat that to myself, the more likely that I am to go about my life with the very, very confident version of myself that I want, that I'm so desperate to be. And there's no like, oh, you know, I'll do it when I'm ready. I'm like, girl, there's no sentiment of being ready, because you'll never be ready unless if you start these things now. You might as well be starting a little bit early than starting later, regretting all the things that you could have done when you were confident in your 20s. And so, even though it's a lot of pressure to deal with, when our parents or like people around us are like, oh, you're in your 20s, this is the best time of your life, like, it really pushes away that narrative and pushes away that pressure, because you're just focusing on yourself. You're just focusing on preparing yourself to be the person that you want to be, and not only that, you're preparing yourself to receive those traits through the experiences that you have through life. Yeah.
I mean, essentially, by showing up as that, you are being the confident version of yourself.
Exactly.
Even if you're faking it till you make it, just the act of showing up as that version of yourself is being the confident version of yourself.
Exactly.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I basically go in reverse with that instead of trying to go push forward, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Step into it and you just be. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So the next question that I have is, what's the most misunderstood thing about positive thinking? I love this question.
Ooh, okay. I already mentioned this, but they always think that it's too late to try. Mm-hmm. And I think it's more of like a, what is it? It's not inferiority complex. It was like when they feel like they have to use the inability to do something as an excuse. So yeah,
like obligation.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just kind of like, I wish that more people knew that it's never too late to try anything. Mm-hmm. Especially because positive psychology has been around for such a long time. If you go on Coursera, there's a course by Yale on positive psychology and how you can be happier. In terms of being positive, again, like I said before, it's a muscle that you need to work out. And even if you break a few strings here and there, you need to recover wholly and holistically as well. But yeah, like anything in life, it's never that black and white, you know. Yeah. Like there's always going to be some nuances there. Like it's going to be on a spectrum, and it really depends on what the person is going through and why they're thinking that way. I think the very first thing that comes to mind is like, why would they feel so inferior to themselves, right? So yeah, I think that's what I have to say about that question.
Okay. Honestly, to add to that, because I love this question, I think something that I hear a lot of the time when it comes to like positive thinking is nothing has changed. I've been doing this and nothing has changed. And I think that sometimes people can maybe be in the mindset of feeling as if just thinking positive is something that you do for a brief amount of time, or let's say you affirm 100 times a day and you're expecting something to change. You're creating a completely new way of thinking. You know, it's like learning how to do anything. It's not going to be the easiest thing at first. You're not going to learn how to ride a bike on your first time. I mean, maybe, but you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You're not going to learn how to ride a bike on your first time of trying. It's something that you have to actively, consistently keep showing up for. And people can look at it in a very black and white way where it's like, I tried this and didn't work, so I'm just going to stop it here.
Yeah.
But when you think about positive thinking as a whole, this is you completely changing your brain chemistry and moving it from one way of thinking to another way of thinking. So you're actively showing up in a new way of thinking until your new dominant state of thinking is more positive. Mm-hmm. It's not really something that you just try out one day and the next day you're thinking back to your old way of thinking and you're just like, well, I'm just going to drop this because it doesn't work. No, this is something that you're consistently training your mind. Like you said, it's building a muscle, ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think it makes me a little bit, I don't know, I wouldn't say sad necessarily. It just makes me feel a little bit like frustrated on their behalf because I know that they have so much to grow for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I guess for them, it'll take some time for them to realize that, like, oh, I actually do have some agency in my life. Like, you know,
it's just a muscle.
It really is. So, yeah.
All right. So the next question that I have for you is, what do you think separates people who grow from difficult experiences from people who get stuck in them?
Oof. Okay, I'm going to be brutally honest right now. I think 99% is your mindset and 1% is whatever happens to you. And you could go through the worst, most traumatic, like catastrophic experiences ever, but if they take a lesson from that and if they're being proactive and taking responsibility for some of the things that they have to take responsibility for, they'll thrive a lot quicker and will be able to heal a lot faster than those who choose to complain and those who choose to think that they're in a helpless situation. Because obviously it would be different in like in countries who are still in like really severe war, for example, like Iran and Iraq and everything that's going on there right now. Like it's difficult to apply this to people who are in a genuine crisis, but at least for those who have been going through like moderate levels of stress, then I think realizing that it's 99% mindset is a good way for them to keep themselves accountable, while realizing that they actually have quite a lot of agency and quite a lot of choice in how they decide to receive whatever comes their way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two people can go through the exact same experience, but they can also have two completely different perspectives that ultimately create their outcome. One person can look at things through a negative lens, and the other person can look at things through a positive lens. One can see a circumstance as this is the end all be all, I don't know what I'm going to do after this, whereas the other person sees it as an opportunity. And I think because of those mindsets creates those opportunities where one person might go on a downward trajectory, whereas the other person goes on an upward trajectory because of that mindset. But then again, also I do know that even if you're going like a downward trajectory because of your mindset, you can always turn that around, even if it might be difficult in the beginning. But I really do believe that like what separates people is just perspective, ultimately.
And it's also like, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want to be positive? You know? I think I wouldn't say that those people are lazy, but they have to know how badly they want positive things to be in their life, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're go ahead.
And like we said earlier, I think it's just a muscle to train, you know? It's so easy to be cynical and like pessimistic because of external circumstances that you can completely forget. Hold up. The one thing that I'm in control of is my perception towards it, how I decide to view this and feel about it. That's something that can be so easily forgotten. So I think you just can take ownership of that, and that's like the easiest way to reverse your circumstance, basically.
100%, yeah. It's like, you would think that adults are good at like, you know, separating good and bad, and then like from the bad events just taking it as a lesson, but there are quite a lot of people who haven't learned that, which is okay because it'll take time. I'm still working on it, and I'm literally exactly. We're still younger than most of the people who come to us saying like, oh, you know, this happened and I can't do anything about it, and like, you know,
but that's just it's a muscle. It's just a muscle.
It's just a muscle. You need to do mental workouts like every single day. It's again with neuroplasticity, the more that you think of that same thought over and over again, the more fat that you gain, and the more neuroplasticity that the more structural neuroplasticity you have, and the easier it is to have those automatic thoughts.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, so I have one final question for you, Yuna.
Okay.
This one is, what's a book, idea, or theory that has influenced you more than anything else?
Ooh, this is so funny because I actually answered it like before I broke up with my boyfriend.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I read up on a lot of like relationship psychology, but like you can tell how much I've been reading this just based off of how like destroyed it is. But it's called 8 Dates to Keep Your Relationship Happy, Thriving and Lasting. And I think this one is a really good book because even if you don't end up together for the long run, you still understand certain parts of the personality that may or may not be a problem later on in the relationship. So let me go to the contents, because it's called 8 Dates because it has 8 different categories and 8 different dates that you can go on, and they plan out the whole date for you. So they go into the research and what happened. So first one is like lean on me, agree to disagree, intimacy, cost of love, room to grow, play with me, something to believe in, and a lifetime of love. And me and my ex did not finish this book, and I feel like that is kind of speaking volumes on how incompatible we were. And so like I'm not sad that I did this with my ex. Like I think my ex, like two exes before, we also did it, but like he didn't show up in the ways that I wanted him to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that's fair enough, because if you're not even showing up to do these dates with me, then it's not worth it. So yeah, I just think like books like that are always really nice, because like even if like say I'm really into this person, the answers speak for themselves, you know? So yeah, I think like it really helps for me personally. But if I were to recommend a book for people who are going through, because our next episode is going to be on relationships anyway, a book that I would recommend for newbies in relationship psychology would probably be, I can't think of it right now, but I think going on their website might be easier. So I'll put it in the description box below, but going to the website, seeing what you can find, and then also I'll put in like a bunch of psychology links to the research, because the amount of research that they've had, not only the amount, but also like the attention to detail that they had with this research is actually mind-blowing. And I'll go into that in the next episode. So, yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that was all my questions for you.
Yay.
I appreciate you answering them.
I appreciate you chipping in as well, because I wanted to hear your opinion on these questions too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, just before we close, I have a little question for you too. Do you have any tips for your past self or general advice for me, knowing that you have, like, obviously we both have a plethora of lessons that we've learned, but do you have any general advice for me that I can benefit, or general advice for your past self as well?
Yeah. I would say, most importantly, one thing that I've really taken from past years is just be patient with yourself, especially in your 20s. It is so easy to go through experiences that completely tear you down. It is so easy to look around at the next person and feel like you are behind or you need to catch up. It is so easy to feel like you have this idea of your life that you wanted it to look like, and that ends up not being what it is, and it can make you feel as if you're going backwards. You're going to go through heaviness. You're going to go through relationships and breakups. You're going to go through jobs and job losses, maybe even having a home and losing your home, losing people. You're going to go through experiences throughout your 20s. The one thing that you're going to have is the relationship with yourself, and you have to be patient with yourself. You have to understand that even throughout the heaviness that you're going to inevitably experience, if you can take care of yourself and remind yourself that this is just an experience, you're going to inevitably get through it. But you have to be patient with yourself. Sometimes you have to sit with the heaviness of it when it feels like there's absolutely nothing that you can do to get through it. But you inevitably do get through it because you allow yourself to sit through it. Even if the emotions feel really heavy, even if the circumstance might feel like you can't overcome it, if you can just be patient with yourself enough to just feel it, to get through the moment, whether this be minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, however long that it takes, doesn't even matter. You have to cultivate a relationship with yourself that allows you to be patient with yourself throughout whatever life throws at you. Your emotions are not your enemy. Your emotions are there to be processed, to flow through you. Do not make an enemy out of your emotions. And this just ultimately boils back down to being patient with yourself. Because there's a lot that you're going to experience. There's a lot that I've experienced. There's a lot that anybody watching has experienced. We're all going through things and experiencing things, but the one thing that you can do is be patient with yourself throughout that. Give love to yourself in whatever way that looks like for you, and just take care of yourself. And know that just because you're going through an experience right now doesn't mean that this is going to last forever. Just because you're going through heaviness right now doesn't mean it's going to last forever. And if you can just take care of yourself throughout that, and know that there are going to be really, really, really good days followed by really, really, really bad days, and just be consciously aware of that, it's going to help you get through the process. Just cultivate a healthy relationship with yourself and be patient throughout whatever life throws at you and whatever you're internally going through. because you have yourself and you do have people that love and care about you that can also support you. But make sure that you're really nurturing that relationship with yourself ultimately. And just be patient.
That is beautifully said. I almost started crying. I was just so locked in listening to you talk. But yeah, being patient with yourself not only goes for your 20s, it also goes for your 10s, your 30s, your 40s, what have you. So yeah.
It's a lifelong journey of being a human.
Exactly. Alright, I think this is all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and whether you're back home or whether you're outside listening to this podcast on a walk, and have a good day, night, evening. And thank you so much for your viewership. We really appreciate it for our first episode.
Yes.
Alright. Thank you, Markell, for being such a great first guest, and thank you, audience, for being such an amazing audience for us as we start this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Yuna. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been great talking to you.
It's lovely talking to you as always. Also, you see Markell around quite often, so he's going to be a familiar face on this podcast.
You'll see me again.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, have a great, lovely day, and we'll see you all next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.